Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Twitch channel for CCGG, our little side project, our little cabal for casters and content creators to get together and practice and learn techniques and the fine art of content creation for Hearthstone and other competitive card games. My name's Cinder, and I'm going to be having the distinct pleasure of sitting on the casting desk with Clark Hellscream tonight. Clark, what is up, man?
Feels good to actually cast my second game of all time. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting set to say the least, especially with these deck lists. Not
Yeah.
seen crazy decks like this in a while.
Yeah, this one is going to be spicy, Clark. We're going to have a scrim match between DollaBilz and CrazyCookie, and I see at least one Lakari sacrifice in these lists, Clark. So give us the rundown on these two lineups.
From DollaBilz, it appears to be that we have some sort of elemental mage
Hmm.
featuring the new Dragonhawk card that summons Ragnaros. I can't even begin to pronounce that first name. It's also got Mountain Giants, so it's definitely a deck that aims to always tempo out some minions and maybe even get some 8/8s on the board.
Hmm.
His second deck, a, uh, a variation of a very popular deck that we see on ladder, mid-range hunter with like dire frenzies,
Hmm.
more laid back approach. It also has corridor creepers and savannah high mains. And then the deck I'm actually most to is the Evolve Shaman featuring Kragwa the Frog and Unstable Evolution. So that's
Oh,
just going to
that's
leave
nice.
wacky.
All kind of strangeness going on in that deck, and I believe he also has the Autant Warrior that's been banned. And let's quickly talk about Crazy Cookies decks as well.
Right, from CrazyCookie, we have another adaptation on the mid-range hunter. Quick glance, I can see that CrazyCookie is choosing to run a Bear Shark corridor
Mm.
creeper, so I'm assuming that his deck is more of a mid-range style.
Yep.
So this card lock featuring the Warlock quest, which all these cards are great. I see so many epics that you never like would even consider running in a deck, and they're just all jammed into one abomination of a deck, and I can't wait to see it. And then banned deck was, but the Druid deck has not been banned, and that is an Undertaker Hydronox Druid. And we already
Yeah.
know how that deck functions.
Yeah, basically infinite value. The dragons come out, Hadronox does Hadronox things, and then Undertaker comes out and says, "Send me to infinity and beyond." Although he's not running the Astral Tiger, so it's not going to be truly infinite, but an extra Hadronox in any case is pretty sick. So let's take a look, see if our players are queued up. They're not quite queued up yet. So Clark, tell us, do have you charted this? Do we have any idea of general competitiveness of these two lineups once again against each one another, up against one another?
I mean, obviously the Hunter deck is probably going to be the biggest worry for both sides, just because, like I said, that deck is very common in High Legend, and almost every single EU playoff player some kind of Hunter in their lineup, and this is like the most popular of those Hunters.
Right.
That those players are really going to have to keep that in mind and try to bully the Hunter. But I really can't give you too much information aside from I believe that the Quest Warlock might be able to mid range out the Mage. Not too
Mm.
sure about the Shaman since it has other capabilities of just being on board. Pretty good spot removal, but like this Mage deck, the more that I look at it, does have tools of just keeping itself ahead on board and also removing. So tempo is a very important name. Is a very important skill to have in this set.
Yeah, and it's that the mage has we've seen it's surprisingly effective at drawing cards. Between Book of Specters, Aragal, you've got the Bonfire Elemental, so it's not hard for these elemental mages to get cheap mountain giants and just have all the tools available. I think the real question becomes: can it apply enough pressure to the slow decks, and can it control faster decks in itself. But I see that the competitors are in game, so we're gonna jump right into it. Once again, DollaBilz versus CrazyCookie in this scrim match right here on CCGG. Give us a follow if you're on the channel. Yeah, looks like we're gonna see DollaBilz on the mage and CrazyCookie on the druid. So right out the bat, we're gonna see whether or not this elemental mage Clark can rush down this much slower taunt druid. But taunt druid, once it gets past that turn 8, turn 9 hump, it's pretty hard to beat, isn't it?
Yeah, and it seems that both players have a very slow start. No early drops. Really, the druid doesn't have any ways of really establishing any board until at least turn 4. Now that Wild Growth has received the ban, or at least the very heavy nerf. It's pretty much a banned card now, because what's the point? But this mage is definitely going to be on the board before this this druid is, and really juicy on turn 3.
Yeah.
Although DollaBilz can only ping, so not much he can do in this situation.
Tar Creeper, great start though. You know, it establishes a little bit of protection for the face, and you know, kind of discourages the druid from pinging away with that hero power during its early turns that are much quieter than the later turns are going to be. But yeah, this is a fairly quiet game so far. And have you played a lot of druid post nerfs, Clark? How much has the nourish and the wild growth nerfs affected the druid class?
Literally gutted from the inside out. There's no soft way to put this, but druid has been the dominant class in Hearthstone for so long, and this is the first time in history the bottom of the barrel. They are finally not the most powerhouse class in Hearthstone. And that's because ramp is just a powerful tool. Like being able to play something for 8 mana on, like, say turn 4, turn 5 is just, it's not really that much of a drawback when druid has a lot of armor cards. Yeah, so they have to just take a completely different approach. There's not a lot of competitive druid lists right now. That's
Oh, absolutely. And we saw Bill's pass on the Tar Creeper on 3. He goes ahead and he plays it out on 4. Let's shake the Magic 8 Ball a little bit, Clark. What do we think Bills was thinking there at the turn 4 play instead of the turn 3?
He's definitely trying to get the value out of the Bonfire Elemental so he can just get the card draw. So like now, like he didn't have an Elemental going into turn 4 if he did play Tar Creeper on 3. So this just guarantees the value, and like this is a very slow matchup. There's no reason to be rushing minions ahead when you're not gonna get the synergy from your deck.
Right,
and it looks like he's going to be rewarded with the Mountain Giant coming out in turn 5.
Yeah, that is a great pickup. And the Mountain Giant too also has interesting implications in the late game because it is an elemental, so it will synergize with Frostless Jaina's healing effects if the game goes to that stage. And we did see CrazyCookie manage to get a wild growth onto the board last turn, so a coin away from starting the slow march towards the end game for the druid.
And I definitely think that CrazyCookie should have considered holding on to that naturalize. I'm pretty sure that the players have seen the deck lists, and Mountain Giant is definitely a minion you want to have an answer to. I think the 4/5 contested the 5/5 pretty well by itself, but now he's in a little bit of a rough spot because he can't really get additional damage onto the Mountain Giant due to the taunt from the Tar Creeper. And he's got a very slow hand right now, so he has to use his resources very effectively if he wants to survive to the spider turns.
Yeah, so here we see the swipe being partially utilized along with the nourish, and I think Cookie may have not fully considered how to sequence this mana. They're going to have to burn the coin as well in order to get through the Tar Creeper and then trade in that Rotten Apple Bomb to clear the 8/4 Giants. So that was a pretty tough turn for CrazyCookie to have to answer that Mountain Giant. But you know, he's turn 8. If CrazyCookie doesn't see a viable play on turn 8, what can Cookie do to kind of survive that gap turn?
He's probably just gonna have to gain some armor and just try to stall out things. But like looking at looking at DollaBilz's hand, he's got the double Astromancer when he's got 9 cards in hand. So I'm not really hopeful in Cookie's ability right now because he's got a lot of minions he's got to take care of, and he's got no taunts that bring back taunts. So we need to start getting some dragons on the field. But that top deck, and it does help. It does help give him a little bit of slack and help gets rid of these minions.
Right, but interestingly, you know, Bill's he passed on the Astromancer on 7, went for the Bonfire Elemental instead to once again charge up that Elemental synergy, and now the Blaze Caller cleanly answers that Glue Meter, and suddenly DollaBilz has a very powerful board. But Cookie is hitting that turn 9 now, Clark. So I imagine we're going to see. So what do you think about the Sleepy Dragon versus the Dragon Hatcher play here?
Dragon Hatcher would have pulled, I believe, a Primordial Drake, because in the deck list that I see, there's only one Sleepy Dragon, Primordial Drake. So I would have, I believe he's just trying to more damage and deal more damage to the board. So having a 4/12 is more effective than having a 4/8 with taunt.
Mm-hmm.
This play, and I understand it, but at the same time, if you top deck Primordial Drake, it's pretty bad.
Right.
Way out the options. But me personally, I probably would have gone with the Dragon Hatcher just to help all become a little bit more powerful. And it's not just like, oh, if I top this dragon, I'm obviously going to lose. You just want to kind of like black statistically.
Yeah, and the Dragon Hatcher too, even though you know, the Primordial Drake pull from the Recruit effect would have been a 4/8, the Dragon Hatcher itself almost demands an answer. So another 4 damage would have had to be put into the Dragon Hatcher. So yeah, I think a Dragon Hatcher may have been preferable there. But yeah, it is understandable. You know, you're facing a lot of damage. You can put down the 4/12 and make it happen. But another powerful turn for Bills. Ziliax allows some trades to come through, cleans off the board, leaves space for a Mountain Giant, and DollaBilz was threatening lethal up until that armor gain last turn, but still very, very close to the edge here for CrazyCookie.
This is just showcase of how the nerfs are really affecting Druid right now, because back in the day, you could draw 3 cards, maybe try to find a Naturalize, and then fire off that Naturalize. Or like even be able to play the Spellstone, but like in this turn, like Druid just has so many big mana cards that just don't really do that much against this board, and you got to be able to ask a hand, and that is definitely surviving these next 2 turns.
Ooh, what a tough turn for CrazyCookie. No on board whatsoever. Use the armor gain from Branching Paths just to survive, and then use the Nourish to try and draw into some kind of answer in the next turn. But if I'm not mistaken, and my math is usually pretty bad, but I think this next turn, considering no other plays, is going to set CrazyCookie to 5. And with no real answer for the board coming from the Druid. So is there anything that the Druid can do to get out of this situation?
13-92. CrazyCookie's currently at 26. So he doesn't have lethal this turn, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that DollaBilz is doing the correct thing by getting out another giant, because, you know, who doesn't love an army of 8/8s to smack your opponent with?
I've played a game or 2 of Death Rattle Paladin. I know all about filling the board with 8/8s, but in this case, Mountain Giants are going to get it done. Setting Cookie to 3, and I don't have the list in front of me, Clark, but does Cookie run? I guess he doesn't run Spreading Plague, because you don't want to put the Plague tokens into the. Yeah, you don't want to put those into the Hadronox Resurrection pool. So there's just no way to stall a board this big for this particular Druid build, and no Naturalize means that Hadronox can't be popped here. So I think this is just good, Clark.
See, he can gain 6 armor, well, a little bit more with the Ferocious Howl, but it seems like he would rather just get these taunts on the field and go for the Spellstone play, which I believe is the best way to get rid of most amount of damage. Calculations, it looks like DollaBilz is going to be able to close it this turn with the Mountain Giants are just winning this game. Like, that Mountain Giant has been on the field since what, turn 6, I believe.
That's a lot of damage, and
8
when
times 4.
it
That
comes
Mountain Giant has
to
effectively dealt 32 damage, if I have counted correctly.
oh my goodness, when it comes to contesting Druid, the rule is go tall, right? Because there's not as much hard removal available for the Druid, and when you're facing off against Taunt Druid, they always have to make the decision of, do I use the Naturalize for removal, or do I use it to power up my board in the later turns? CrazyCookie made that decision earlier on, and it looks like it does not pay off. DollaBilz is going to take the first game in this series and be able to retire this Elemental Mage. And what else does Bilz have available in his lineup?
Bilz still has a mid-range Hunter and an Evolved Shaman available too. CrazyCookie could use his Hunter, which is also mid-range, his Quest Warlock, or he could go with the Druid again. Warlock. Oh, I really want to see this Warlock deck.
Yeah, same. I've long been trying to find a viable discard deck. I actually like the mechanic. I know a lot of people don't care for the discard mechanic. Well, we've got it though, Clark. There's the Warlock.
Yes, my birthday.
I'm so excited.
Well, like you were saying, the Warlock quest finally got some support this season. So strong as people originally thought it was, and I'm actually in disagreement with you on the discard mechanic. It's actually my least favorite mechanic in Hearthstone. Not because you're necessarily discarding a card, but because you can't choose which card to discard. Every single discard effect is random, or it's like the lowest cost. And that was just introduced in this expansion, discarding the lowest cost card in your hand.
Right, which gives you some control over the discard, but many of the cards in Cookie's deck are just the regular discard or random cards, so we'll see how that goes. But DollaBilz has a decently smooth curve in this early game here. He's got the one-cost elementals available to him. Nightmare Amalgam on 3. Twilight Drake on 4. What a great pickup.
It's just this is an interesting deck from the Shaman. It's not every day that you see Dragon Synergy class.
Like it hasn't even fully registered that's a crowd roaster sitting in his hands. But you know what? It's minion based removal. So anytime you're running like a purely minion based deck, like for instance, an Evolved Shaman where you don't want to cast too many spells, then yeah, crowd roaster becomes an option. But this early game so far belongs to Bilz.
Also got some elementals in the mix too. I'm looking at the deck list, and that synergize with elementals specifically, aside from Earth and Might. But he has the other copies of elementals such as Firefly. We can clearly see he's got the Glacial Shard, Menacing Nimbus as well, and that Nightmare Amalgam. The Nightmare Amalgam is amalgam. I'm sorry. It is also an elemental.
Yes, it is everything.
There's awkward synergies, and I kind of like it. I like seeing innovation being rewarded.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned the Nightmare album, and I'm trying to think of what band is that? I need to check Spotify. Excellent. So look at this, the Cataclysm all ready for CrazyCookie. This discards the entire hand and is going to complete the quest immediately. So the portal, the Nether portal, goes into CrazyCookie's hand, available for play next turn on curve. An on curve Nether portal, Clark. I like it.
It's not every day that you see the Warlock quest complete itself by turn 5. Like, I'm getting PTSD from the good old-fashioned quest rogue days where you just prepped it out as early as turn 4, turn 5.
Yeah. Oh, that still happens from time to time. But now that the quest is online, the portal's been played every single turn. Cookie will be generating 2 3/2 imps, demons, onto the board, and DollaBilz is going to be pressured to answer those minions every single turn, or just face increasing pressure over time. And you can't let that run rampant forever, Clark, because I feel like I also play a little Magic the Gathering, and there's a very similar card, and if you let that card get out of control, even fast decks cannot outrace free tokens every single turn.
And looking at DollaBilz Shaman list, the only card that can potentially do AoE Cosmos. And if he gets any random spells off of the the new card, Witch Doctor.
The Fire Tree Witch Doctor, I believe.
Here we go. I was looking on the field and the cards were covering it up. Like the one name I needed. But the bigger thing is he kind of needs in order to deal with these, like these 3/2s are gonna become a problem at some point. But I believe he's actually trying to make Cookie play behind, so that way he's doing the trading, and that's just infinitely better than playing into a deck that has essentially infinite value at the moment.
And take a look at this. The top deck draw for Crazy Cookie is the Soul Warden, which gives him back 3 of those cards that he discarded to the Cataclysm earlier. So just like that, Crazy Cookie gets a partial refill of the hand and continues to contest this board. I don't want to get ahead of the game here, Clark, but I think this deck is actually working.
I mean, it's got it did its thing. Like,
yeah,
when you do your best possible way of popping off the combo, like this is just what's gonna happen. Decks that can deal with 3/2s every turn, especially a deck like this where you don't have AoE, like you don't have a ton of big minions. Is that DollaBilz has to keep Crazy from playing from behind, so that way he's trading into the board while DollaBilz is slowly chipping away at Cookie's HP.
And the only thing I regret right now is that Jeklik was not in that hand of cards that got discarded. But look, Bills is actually just going to try and race Cookie down, and I think that's a fair threat from DollaBilz. He's got the freeze effect from the Glacial Shards, and he's going to say, okay, you're only doing 6 damage a turn. I'm doing 10, 11, 12, and you've already taken damage from your hero power. So I'm going to try and race you down. And Crazy Cookie's down to 13 already, Clark.
And now that 6 damage just became 3 from the last minute Glacial Shard from DollaBilz. Cookie's, I mean, he completed the quest on turn 5, but these 3/2s are not dealing with the wide board as effectively. Pretty good, and thank God that Twisting Nether did not get discarded. Woo-hoo!
Well, the Soulfire was a risky pitch, but that was the correct sequence. He needed to, if he was going to try and risk not discarding the Nether, the Soulfire discards at random, so he had to do that one first to reduce the odds of discarding the Twisting Nether, because then that at least sets up the Reckless Dire Troll, which discards the lowest cost card, which we've already talked about. So this is what allows a Crazy Cookie to play this card without having to worry about discarding that Twisting Nether. Very good sequencing by Crazy Cookie.
And DollaBilz just top decked the highlighted card in his deck, the Unstable Evolution, and with a combination of that and Kragwa, that's a lot of just random 10 drops just suddenly beating down on Crazy Cookie.
Oh man!
Figure out a way to get past this taunt.
I like the Unstable Evolution start to just kind of see if he can maybe get a charge minion or a rush minion, something to just punch through this taunt.
Taunt minion would be pretty useful too, to just stop this damage, because I mean, if he doesn't have a way to clear the board, then these minions are going to start hitting face.
Oh, there he goes. The Gurabashi champion. Is that the right note? Lord of the Arena. Sometimes I'm wrong. Lord of the Arena. That is a taunt that's going to force at least one trade off of the Soul Warden. And Crazy Cookie, though, does have that Twisting Nether available to him, so he can still punch in some damage and then reset the board and turn the initiative back over to DollaBilz here. But the 0 mana Corridor Creeper, that's a decent refill to get started with on turn 8.
A Crazy Cookie can actually completely clear the board here, trading the 3/2s into the 6/5, the 3/2 into the Bear Shark, leaving his Soul Warden alive at 3 HP. Twisting Nether just doesn't seem that important. Like, you can just throw down the 4 mana card, the Lakari Fellhound, and suddenly it's another big taunt that this deck has an issue dealing with. Like, this Shaman deck has now lost the board, and now he's got an additional HP to deal with.
Yeah, that is great recognition from Cookie, knowing that the minions can do the job just as well, and this retains initiative for the Warlock, allows him to play a minion, allows a minion to survive. So now the DollaBilz is looking at an uphill challenge. He was threatening lethal, looking to race this Warlock down, but now he's back to the drawing board, and this is a lot of pressure to be facing down.
According to my calculations, there is 15 damage on the field, and that is equivalent to 30 when you multiply that by 2. So
Wow.
he's on a clock of 2 turns.
We're doing Hearthstone and arithmetic. This is an educational stream. And okay, so Clark, Bill's had a very passive turn there. What do you think is the thinking behind just playing this ooze and a hero power and nothing else?
I mean, I would have definitely liked to have seen the ancestral healing, but like this crowd roaster isn't getting anything, so he's probably thinking to himself, "Hey, I can still get value out of this, and maybe at least get rid of the 6 damage that I see." The AOE, there's not really a lot of options. Like maybe ancestral healing on the corridor creeper to try to buy you some time. There's just a lot of damage on the field right now, and these elementals are pretty low impact. Like your next battle cry triggers twice this turn when your battle cry is plus damage and you have no spells. Like these cards are just not synergizing with each other.
Oh, but look at this pickup off the top. The Dragon Maw Scorcher is a nice battle cry, Clark. So that plus the Murmuring Elemental is a partial clear. So this might actually buy DollaBilz a little bit of time.
So he can get rid of the 3/8 or get rid of the 6/3. He has a way to survive to the next turn. He does have the ancestral healing, so he can at least produce some kind of taunt.
Right.
Lakari Fellhound, so that's 3 more damage off the field.
Although the Crowd Roaster...
He will survive another turn.
Yeah, the Crowd Roaster didn't do enough damage to the Fellhound. The Crowd Roaster does 7 damage. Fellhound has 8. So if he wants to clear the Fellhound, he'll have to trade into the ooze. So it's gonna go down to the ancestral healing, taunting up that corridor creeper. But there's just so much pressure coming down from CrazyCookie here.
Yeah, and DollaBilz did not trade into the Fellhound.
Right.
Very curious. I wonder if CrazyCookie has lethal. Oh yeah, CrazyCookie has lethal onboarded. Exact lethal, might I add.
There it is.
It does. Like, if you cannot answer the board almost every single turn, then you're just gonna get smacked by all these imps on the field. These demons do not play games.
They do not, and that will put this game in particular up to a 1-1 score. So boiling it down to a best of 3, the Warlock will get retired in this Conquest set. So remaining decks now, Clark, for these 2 players.
Got DollaBilz with the mid-range Hunter and also his Shaman that we just saw. CrazyCookie still has the Druid from before and also his own iteration on the mid-range Hunter. I believe we're going to see a mirror here. And, all right, we're going to see Hunter versus Druid. DollaBilz on the Hunter. And CrazyCookie coming back with his Undertaker Hydronox Druid.
And I don't have the matchup chart in front of me, but I have to believe that this Hunter probably is very, very favored against the Taunt Druid.
The Druid definitely needs to get the removal tools because this Hunter deck can get some pretty scary looking hyenas by turn 4.
Yeah, and so far
they actually took this deck to top 200 legend last season, and I've seen some pretty crazy, pretty scary screenshots.
Yeah, shout out to Honest Abe. He's a great guy. You should go follow him on Twitter just because he's a genuinely good person. But this is a pretty good start for Bilz here. You got it. The Mole on 1 is always good to see, and the Master's Call on 3 is going to give him a great recharge to head into the mid game and start putting down some power. But Cookie finally seeing a Wild Growth on curve. So Coin's going to come out for that, and probably going to lead into that Ironwood Golem on turn 4. But I'm sure Bilz is going to want to charge up his hand here and get ready.
Too sure if I saw this correctly, but I believe I saw CrazyCookie keep the Hydronox in hand.
Really interesting.
Too sure if I really agree with that.
Does
You want to
Cookie?
try and build up a board at least, so that way you can get to the late game. Because if you just have a
Right.
bunch of dead cards for a couple turns, it's hard to do anything with them.
Yeah, you generally, if you have a 9 mana card, and I know this sounds foolishly common sense, but if the card costs 9 mana, you can't play it until turn 9. I mean, a druid could play it on turn 7 if everything goes according to plan. But in a matchup where you're probably going to die by turn 6 against this very aggressive beast hunter, a 9 mana card is not going to get you there. You're absolutely right, Clark. You have to give yourself time to get to turn 9. So more removal, more taunts, more armor. That's how the taunt druid typically wants to approach this matchup. But DollaBilz going to have to punch through this taunt with one of his kill commands. But his hand looks pretty solid. Tundra Rhino into Savannah Highmane is a heck of a 5 and 6.
CrazyCookie is going to be able to play on curve, getting this rotten apple bomb on the field, and honestly, like where I'm a little bit unfamiliar, but taunts are relatively hard for Hunter to deal with if they don't have any big beefy minions on the field. And right now, we're only seeing a 1/3 with potential of being buffed by Dire Frenzy. I think you would usually want to use Dire Frenzy on maybe even like an Unleash the Hound, so that way it's a 1 moment charge just gets buffed. You can maybe even use it on the Spring Paw in order to trade to the board effectively. And with Tundra Rhino in hand, like that just means that all your pretty beasts have charge and can just smack the face.
Yeah, and I would have to agree. I don't know that you would want to put down the Rhino. It's a vulnerable beast when there's an opposing board presence. But yeah, this Dire Frenzy plus the Spring Paw is actually a pretty good combination of cards. You know, one mana rushing 4/4 that makes more cards. That's pretty good.
Especially when you can use it as like a really good trading tool, and also it just gives you another beast. Sometimes that other beast just makes a big difference. And like, if I remember correctly, this deck does have Crackling Razor Maw. Mm-hmm. So getting a rush with poison, for example, is extremely powerful.
Well, Bills went ahead for he went for the Tundra Rhino here, which is going to be answered. Well, it would have been answered by a trade from the Apple Bomb plus a hero power, and Cookie declines. He kind of refuses the gambit here, and I find that interesting because that is a very big risk to take in order to nourish on 6, and also it kind of shows how much that 1 mana difference can really affect how the druid plays out these cards. Because now DollaBilz is going to go into turn 6 with an intact Tundra Rhino and be able to really punish this decision from CrazyCookie.
Tundra Rhino is a very, very like high risk minion to leave on the board. Mm-hmm. Like charge is a very scary mechanic, and if you've looked at the history of HearthStone, it is the #1 mechanic that the devs have nerfed, such as like Warsong Commander, such as Grim Patron. Well, Warsong Commander and Grim Patron, respectively, together.
Right.
And they historically have come out about it. Like, they do not like, suddenly I'm at 30 HP and then one big minion hits me in the face just out of nowhere.
No, and although Hunter can't do that kind of damage typically, leaving a charge minion on the board in general just means everything that the Hunter can play can immediately damage the hero, and that is a bad feeling for anybody on the receiving end. And CrazyCookie's got a very awkward turn here. 7 mana or 5 mana remaining, and really the only card available to play here is the Apple Bomb. There's an option for 2 uncharged Spellstones or that Naturalize, and we've already seen Cookie get punished earlier for playing a Naturalize on a weaker minion. But is there a world where he has to Naturalize his Tundra Rhino to stay alive?
I mean, with that swipe in hand, I want to say no, because all you really need to do is just swipe and hit it with your face. And now that this Tundra Rhino has been unanswered for so long, he's got 3 extra copies that are now 5/8. So these Tundra Rhinos just became extremely sticky. Cookie is also low on mana, and not using the Nourish for the mana gain is starting to look like it's affecting him here, because he's not able to play the the Hungry Dragon he's had in his hand since the beginning of the game. Removal is very, very limited because you just don't have the mana cost like we saw the past 2 turns. Like 1 or 2 mana difference made that difference, and suddenly this Tundra Rhino is just really scary to look at. I really hope we see a swipe or a spellstone on it here. This is a high alert.
Oh yeah, Cookie looks like he's reaching for the Primordial Drake, which admittedly does clear the 2 hyenas that spawn from the Savannah Highmane, but it also leaves the Tundra Rhino on board, and that you see the hesitation there. Cookie understands that leaving that Rhino on the board is just not an option. So yeah, here comes the swipe. Second guessing, good thinking, thinking that turn through and considering the damage that minion can do. But that still leaves quite a bit of damage on the board for Bilz to push through next turn. And Rexar came in the hand as well. So even if this offense fails, Clark, Rexar can just drag this game out ad infinitum.
Yeah, and Cookie did not kill the Misha and trade into the minion, so now this is 8 damage coming from DollaBilz side, and so he can just play the Deathstalker Rexar for effectively, no backdraw, like getting a free beast out of it. Like, this is exactly the kind of turn that you want to get a big mana card out of your hand. The AoE from the Death Knight is not exactly something that's that important in this matchup. You just want to start making your beasts, getting some poisonous minions.
Right, absolutely. And the druid is always going to be being starved for removal, right? Like the naturalizes, the spellstones, and the swipes is pretty much it. And Rexar being able to create a new threat every single turn without having to use a card means that the druid will very quickly get taxed. And we see Bilz already creating a pretty big minion, and I like the pick of the Stampeding Kodo, because this will pick off that Gloom Eater that he's seen earlier hanging out in CrazyCookie's deck.
You definitely want to be able to have your zombies be a little bit cheap, but if you know that a specific zombies is good against something in your opponent's deck, there's definitely something you want to try and shoot for.
Mm-hmm.
DollaBilz is looking like he's going to be able to just make another zombies to try and get over this this 4-8, because he doesn't have any immediate answers in hand. Cave Hydra, however, that's a pretty scary pick. Getting that with poison or even like lifesteal, that's just...
Oh yeah, the lifesteal not yet relevant. DollaBilz has not been facing any kind of threat from this slow druid, but yeah, Cave Hydra being able to attack adjacent minions means that any effect on one attack affects all 3 attacks. So lifesteal, poison, both very, very useful. But he goes ahead with the Tundra, the wolf,
Timberwolf, and the Jungle Panther.
Nice, good call, Clark. So, but yeah, this is more attack that he's able to push in next turn, and the Highmane doesn't fully challenge the Primordial Drake, but it's a pretty big beast, another threat that the druid has to find an answer for.
DollaBilz is sitting pretty comfortably right now, and CrazyCookie can finally start getting these taunts out of his hands, and he's also got the Naturalizing Hydronox in hand. An amount of these minions on the field start doing some major damage. He's sitting at 15 life.
That it's 15. Yeah, 15 is it's a scary life total, but this druid packs a lot of armor. So if it can stall the board and come to a stabilization point, get to a point where it has a turn that it can play out Hadronox and hit it with the Naturalize, that it can turn the corner into the late game and just overwhelm the board with minions. But right now, all CrazyCookie has to do is survive. He's going to deploy the Naturalize again.
He wants to burn a card. Milling things. That was my favorite thing to do when I was first playing Hearthstone. Was just mill cards. Mill Druid was my favorite deck. It's off the top, so that's a pretty powerful ability, Don.
Yeah.
Could have been a Tundra Rhino, but he gets that Tundra Rhino in hand.
Yeah, that Tundra Rhino was literally the next card down, or the next card up in the deck list. So one more card in Bill's hand, and the Rhino would have gotten burned there. So he dodged a bullet there, able to keep that very powerful Rhino. But then again, there's 2 more of them in the deck that look just like this. They're 5 mana, 5/8. So that Dire Frenzy is such a powerful game in these late game situations. But now the board's kind of come to equalization, Clark. Bills has to figure out a way to challenge these minions, these big taunt minions, and then deal enough damage before Cookie gets to a Hadronox recursion play. So, given what he has in hand, what are some options that Bills can deploy here?
Well, he couldn't really make use of the Rexar Hero power because he was stuck at 10 cards at the beginning. This play that he's doing, recognizing attack on my rush minions is a great way to get rid of some taunts of everything, but getting rid of one is definitely a good start. And hopefully squeeze a Build-A-Beast in here. Decide for him, and we get a with a poison attached.
Taunt poison against is actually fairly nice. We've already seen one of the spellstones deployed from the druid, so decent chance that this survives, at least from Bill's perspective. We see the second spellstone in hand from Cookie, but that's anytime poisonous comes up against taunt druid, that's usually a good thing. But CrazyCookie continuing to stall the board and force DollaBilz to answer these big minions.
And Poisonous is just extremely effective in this deck because, remember, he's got 3 more Tundra Rhinos in his natural deck.
Mm-hmm.
Poisonous is not exactly that much of a drawback if you don't get, like, the rush or whatever, because you could just immediately play it and get the value out of it. Now, what I want to see from DollaBilz is getting that poison blowback, because that's extremely useful in this matchup. Like, you got big boards to deal with, and what better way than to just poison them all away at once?
Yeah, for sure. Although he built early on is usually a good option. You want to at least know what you have in hand. Make sure you have enough mana to cast everything that you need to cast at 8, and then hit that hero power. And maybe that changes the texture of the play. But this absolutely huge Tundra Rhino is going to come down along with that Timberwolf Build-A-Beast and be able to put quite a bit of damage on board to start challenging these minions. And right away, there you go. Clear board, and the Rhino's going to connect to... Oh, we miscounted that one. So he's not going to be able to punch through that 410. But this is still quite a lot of damage for Bills to build up here.
Bills did have the resources to actually trade into that perfectly. If he just matter if you would have traded in the Wolf first, then the Tundra Rhino was still at 5 and still had enough attacks. So he intentionally did not want to kill this. I'm wondering if he's trying to play around a Hydronox potentially. Maybe he wants to be like, oh, you're comfortably sitting there, and I have a poisonous minion in my hand. I'm gonna make you play a little bit off, and he's essentially forcing the trade here. Because that's a powerhouse minion, giving anything charge. Does not have a way to make that Hydronox useful. That is the biggest thing that I'm seeing here. He threw away the Naturalize a little bit too early, and now suddenly this Hydronox is more of a liability in his hand than it is a solution.
Right, because he can play the Hadronox, but then what? There's nothing else to go with it. There's no way to protect the face with just the Hadronox by itself. And Bills offered a Bittertide Hydra in that first Build-A-Beast. I would be surprised to see that. Oh, he went for it. I like it.
That's a 9 attack charge minion, man. That's a pretty hefty boy, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, there is no shame in being a big boy, and that is one of the biggest that you can get off of the Build-A-Beast. Can't play it with the Tundra Rhino just yet. Bill's going to have to trade out this taunt minion and pray that there is not a Naturalize in Cookie's hands. Oh, he's just going to play it now. I like this a lot, because this just tells Cookie, hey, if you got that Naturalize, you better use it, because this is heading down in a turn.
Correct play, but this is definitely the beefiest play, and I always like beefy plays.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of asking questions, and this asks the biggest question of all, and that's, can you stop this big boy right here? And
CrazyCookie really doesn't have a way to abuse the 3 damage that comes into attacking the Bittertide Hydra. I hope that his taunts are doing the damage. And right now, it looks like, and this Bittertide Hydra beats the Lich King and survives.
Yeah, there's no way to cleanly block a 9/9. Gloom Eater would have been the only option, and Bill several turns ago picked up that Stampeding Kodo off the Build-A-Beast for that exact occasion, and fortunately hasn't had to use it yet. Cookie's going to deploy the Lich King just to try and buy himself some time and maybe a Death Knight card. Obliterate could come in handy here. But for the moment, DollaBilz still in command of the board, and he's going to have an entire turn to build on this very, very big league. Dire Frenzy off the top.
Lich King, that's essentially a reset, but at the same time, CrazyCookie has 3 less cards than DollaBilz does. So going deeper into your deck and getting closer to fatigue is not exactly something that you want to do. So you have to use that Doom Pack extremely effectively. Stuff out by accident, and this isn't lethal now, is it?
This is 10, 12 damage.
There.
Not quite, but that is a ton of damage, and Cookie still no neutralize off the top. Hadronox still not effective, for defense. I don't even know if you want to armor up here. I think you just try to just stick on the game plan of taunts block face, taunts is cheat, but we know that that's not going to be enough for CrazyCookie.
Yeah, this Tundra Rhino, like this has been the theme of this game. Tundra Rhino is a very powerful card, and if it's not dealt with, and if it gets Dire Frenzied, it's extremely useful for the hunter, especially since now they have Zombeasts, and essentially every Zombeast has charge when you have that Tundra Rhino on the field.
Doom Pack
gonna get rid of the field.
Yeah.
Oh no, the Naturalize!
Oh my goodness, that was a terrible roll off the top. CrazyCookie absolutely could not have afforded that right now.
If he not go for the double card draw, and if he would have played Doom Pact first and then had the double card draw, he would not have milled the Naturalize. Now obviously you can't know that's gonna happen until afterwards, but the HearthStone player and as a ranked player, just having that notification, just it hurts. It hurts a lot.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking to watch. This entire deck, this Druid deck, completely hinges on the recursive resurrection abilities of Hadronox combined with the cubes, the witching hours, and Undertaker, and all the ways that it can just keep reviving minions. And Naturalize is the key that opens up that door, and both of them are now gone. CrazyCookie is in quite a spot here, with no effective way to defend, given the weight of the hand. He drew cards last turn and couldn't play anything else because of the height of the curve of these cards.
Time goes short.
He's just trying to stay alive right now, and like the Amani Warbear could have killed the 6/6, but then you have to tank the 6 damage as well. Just not in a position to where you can really take damage. Oh, and the Tundra Rhino off the top. Oh, I don't know.
I think this is lethal. It's very close. The Ironbeak Owl that would be 6, 11, 13. It's close, but yeah, you're right. It's not there yet. But DollaBilz is
play it safe.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to get too risky. Make sure you can set up the lethal. You know that Cookie can't activate Hadronox by itself because the second Naturalize is gone. So I think, I would be surprised to see the Rhino here, just because he's smelling blood in the water, right? He knows how close he is, and he just wants to put this game away.
Pushing that fat 11, and CrazyCookie, I don't believe, has any more removal. He's only got these really big mana cards that, one, suddenly you really can't do anything else with your turn. Is not going to save you right now in this situation. Like, the Naturalize was what you needed. Like, right. Hadronox has literally been sitting in the hand since the very beginning. Remember, CrazyCookie kept it in his mulligan.
Right.
I believe that CrazyCookie is going to learn a lesson about keeping pretty expensive cards in the mulligan.
Does Cookie run Master Oakheart? I don't think he does.
I do not see a copy of it in the deck, no.
That is the one thing that I think would drive a Taunt Druid player to want to keep Hadronox, because there's no recruit available from Master Oakheart. So if you never draw Hadronox, then you can never get to your in-game scenario. So in that sense, I understand the logic, but we see the consequence of that against this very, very aggressive hunter.
So the bigger lesson in all of this is that you're not playing like your Oaken Summons on turn 4. We are seeing it at the very end stage of the game.
Right.
Play your Oaken Summons, cheat out some cards, try to get some value generating, and then suddenly when turn 9, turn 10 hits, and you have the mana, your Hydronox just gets top decked and you have to naturalize. That's the best way to use your Hydronox. I believe that holding on
is.
Dire as OTK Paladin keeping Uther, because that is literally your win condition. There are other ways of drawing through the deck, and that's why the recruit is really good. That's why the different card draw mechanics are really good. You want to like use them you got to use them in a tempo manner, so that way you're at least doing something and you're not just passing turns, because that's the worst thing that you can do as Druid after these nerfs is just pass your turn and have no effective way of anything.
Right. And we saw finally at the last turn there, Bilz created that Stampeding Kodo many turns ahead in anticipation of the Gloom Eater finally hitting the board. It does, and it leads Bilz to exact lethal to finish the game. So this puts Bilz on match point 2-1 in this exhibition match. So back to the Evolved Shaman. He's got 2 tries at it against the remainder of Cookie's lineup.
CrazyCookie trying to get some redemption for Lunara here, and it looks like he's got a pretty good mulligan. I don't think he would keep Dragon Hatcher here, but those other 2 cards, those are pretty good to have.
Yeah, the Spellstone.
DollaBilz has a lot of elementals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
love
love
pretty
this.
good ones of that. I like the amalgams.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. I love the inclusion of the amalgam in this deck build, because it just unlocks so many synergies between the dragons and the elementals. It's that 3 mana is a nice curve filler in the later game, and it lets you activate all those various mechanics. It's a really cool inclusion. But yeah, CrazyCookie definitely was welcome to see both the Spellstone and the Oaken Summons in the opening hand, but Hadronox comes off the top to say hello once again, to sit in the hand for at least 9 turns before Cookie can do anything about it.
Cookie, you really like spiders, apparently. That's a pretty big spider, if I do say so myself.
It is the biggest of the spiders, and spiders are friends. I understand that people have fear of spiders, but spiders, they eat pests, they eat mosquitoes, they eat roaches. They're good. Spiders are your friends, folks. Early game development.
Spiders bring back a lot of taunts.
They also bring back a ton of taunts. If you squish a spider on your wall, you'll get at least like 5 taunts, and you don't want that.
I'm literally imagining squishing a spider, then suddenly the Lich King pops out of nowhere. Like, oh my god!
I mean, if you've ever tried to swat a spider that has a clutch of young on it, you know exactly what Hadronox is doing. But yeah, early game development here from DollaBilz. Early Glacial Shard, early hero power. Bilz does not feel a lot of pressure to develop here, I imagine, Clark. He knows that this is a slow Druid deck. He doesn't have to burn the coin early. He can save that for like a mid-game push and just slowly generate pressure steadily on curve. But yeah, Ironwood Golem going to be a slight pain in the butt here for this Evolved Shaman.
And this is a little bit of what I was talking about last game. Like the Oaken Summons hitting on turn 4 is just another way to thin out your deck, so that way you have a better chance of having your Hydronox get value by turn 9, turn 10.
Mm-hmm.
this is exactly what you want. Like, you do have this 3/6 on the shaman's end, and he doesn't want to see that. But as a druid, you're very happy right now.
And I like the trade there by Bills pushing the glacial shard into the oaken, or excuse me, the ironwood golem, knowing that if he doesn't apply that damage now, swipe just removes it from the board without it ever affecting the board state. So I really do like that that trade there from Bills. But yeah, this Serenite chain gang, you know, Bills knows there's no plague in the deck for this druid, so he can go as wide as he wants without getting any kind of punish. So I like Bills' foreplay as well, just playing out those chain gangs and putting more damage on the board.
Unfortunately for CrazyCookie, he top decked that second Iron Golem, so you can't just exactly slam that Oaken Summons and just get another minion. Still unfortunate. So I wonder if he's going to go for the Oaken Summons or the Golem. Looking like the Golem.
Yep.
All right, we got it. We got a Golem.
Yeah. It does effectively challenge the board. The Serenites can't push through, and oh, that's a golden Kragwa. Oh man, I'm jealous of that. That is a beautiful card. But Bills now has a slightly awkward turn 5, although the Corridor Creepers did get a discount, and I think 4 mana 2/5 is probably on the lower border of being able to be played without feeling like you're wasting mana.
I mean, you got nothing else you can really do this turn, so it doesn't feel that bad. Free mana is free mana, but when you're floating 6, not really that important.
And I do kind of like the slightly passive play here from Bills, because this actually leads him into a coin crowd roaster if he feels he needs it. So this
could potentially take a second Corridor Creeper as well if he does trade, and looks like that's what he's thinking. Does not play the Corridor Creeper though.
I think that's okay. I like that because he knows that there's a pretty decent chance that this second Corridor Creeper gets cleared from Cookie anyway. So then he'll have it on 0 mana next turn regardless. So I think that's a heads up play from Bills, not really valuing the effect of that coin here in this mid game.
I want to see Kragwa hit the field. I have never heard this card at all.
Yeah, same. I've actually not seen the card played yet. This is one of the new cards from Rastakan's Rumble. Evolution coming into the hand. That means that Kragwa
can do it. You can do the frog.
Oh, it's so good. It's happening right now. Oh,
it's not happening quite yet.
It's happening soon. Soon, TM. But I'm so happy that it is happening.
I mean, I guess, technically speaking, since we can see his hands, technically he's not incorrect.
Yeah.
Save a 0 mana card when you have a powerful combo, such as a 0 mana Corridor Creeper and an Unstable Evolution.
Right. At the same time, we've seen so far that Bills has been pretty good about counting cards and keeping track of his opponent's deck. So he may know, or at least have a good risk calculation on whether or not Cookie can actually deal with a pair of 5 health minions, which is pretty tough for Druid. Like you can't double swipe; it's not enough mana. You'd have to have 2 charged spellstones or like a swipe. Something. It'd be pretty tough for the Druid to clear.
The Amani Warbear can easily kill off one of these 2/5, so that's just one less minion for high mana, because last turn he could have potentially played both Corridor Creepers and just simply used Unstable Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the big minions, and it looks like Cookie does not know what DollaBilz deck is known for, and that is evolving Corridor Creepers. And he's going to get some pretty minions. He's going to start as 8 drops. That's very important.
That's not bad. That's okay. Keep going. Marin's not too useful here. You just Master Oak. Oh, the Mecha'thun!
Yes, my favorite card.
We got there. We got there close.
Wild.
10/10 for 4 mana seems good, and Bills can even keep going here. He still has 3 more uses to try and get
on the other minion.
Yeah, you may as well get another 10/10. At least roll the dice on it.
It's a big minion.
Ray Romano's not bad, but Okay, he's gonna stick with that, and I think that's fine. That's a pretty beefy minion there. 610 taunt, 16 damage. That is a heck of a clock to put on this taunt druid at its turn 8.
No matter what, DollaBilz won this game because he summoned Mecha'thun, and Mecha'thun wasn't even in his deck. Like, this minion appeared because I am here.
I accept your headcanon and apply it to my own. And also, ironically, DollaBilz evolved a Master Oakheart that Cookie doesn't even run in his own deck.
Cookie getting Death Grip though from the Lich King.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, DollaBilz is just gonna get these 1-mana cards, and this is so beautiful.
All these
This is
evolved.
I literally tried to Theorycraft on day 1. It for the first time.
Lich King gonna go down to the Mecha'thun trade very easily, and all of these unstable evolutions gonna be able to be used basically for the rest of the game. So from now until the end of the game, any minion that hits the board is likely to be an 8-drop, a 9-drop, a 10-drop, just from one single card, and it's so hard.
9-drop. So that is
Let's
a
see.
big deal. Hero power, a 9-drop.
On top of that, DollaBilz picked up the Shutterwalk just a turn ahead of all this other mess. So then, even if the Druid can manage these never-ending waves of 8-mana, 9-mana, 10-mana minions that can be generated by the Shaman, Shutterwalk gives you just another handful of evolutions if Bilz sequences it correctly. So it's going to be interesting to see if Cookie can find a way to continue to challenge this board, save his face, and turn this into a winning situation.
This is not looking very hopeful. This is like the one thing that I tried to do so hard on day 1. Look at this value. This is so insane. And like, this is against Druid, the class that has like the least amount of cards that interact with the board effectively. Like, Crazy's probably wishing he was playing Wild, so that way Poison Seeds can maybe get him out of the situation.
Cookie needs to naturalize off the top.
5 random, like 10 or 9 drops.
Well, it's not a cast with Cinder unless you hear the dogs in the background. Cookie absolutely needed a naturalize to come off the top. He just comes into 10 mana. Hadronox plus naturalize at least saves him a turn. I don't see a way out of this, Clark. This looks like it might be a checkmate.
17, 18, 22 damage. So even a fully casted branching paths does not save you. And now that you've drawn, you're only stuck at 7 mana, so you cannot use branching paths into Oaken Summons to survive another turn. Yeah, I think Cookie realizes it, and that is the set. Oh my gosh.
That's gonna do it. That was a treat, Clark. I was quite pleased to see that Evolved Shaman actually get some work done. And Bills had some interesting decks, but they worked. The Elemental Mage functioned perfectly. The Beast Mage with the charging Tundra Rhinos and Dire Frenzy worked perfectly. And then right at the Mecha'thun, the Oakheart, all coming out of the Evolved Shaman. What do you think, Clark?
I'm pleased. If any stream has a Mecha'thun in it, it's automatically a 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
Excellent.
But like I literally said at the beginning, like the Kragwa Unstable Evolution is a powerful combo, and it was just showcased here.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
What,
it's so hard to come back from.
I'm losing my head right now. There's just so many crazy things that happened.
That was a good one. Well, folks, if you've joined us for this little practice session, we want to thank you so much for coming to the stream. Give us a follow. Check out CCGG. It's a totally grassroots organization of casters, players, and other content creators who are coming together to uplift one another. We are teaching and learning, and we are going to enter 2019 together as an up and coming group in esports. And so if you want to get in on the casting, this is Clark. This is his first time or second time casting. Did a great job, and this is what we're here for. We want to teach people how to create content. So if you want to join us, please do check out the Twitter, follow the Twitch, and follow the Discord link as well once you get there. So for Clark and Bimmy, of course, in the control room as always, we want to thank you for showing. Discord link is actually on the stream right now, so check it out. And also for DollaBilz under the stream, and for DollaBilz and CrazyCookie, thank you, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thank you again for having me, guys. It was such a pleasure.